Hey everybody, welcome to Climb Ladder for our 101st episode presented by Washed Up Network. I'm your co-host Hunter and my equally good-looking twin brother Duncan sitting right here with me. Thank you to everybody who's been tuning in each week. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Plus, you can see two of the same face when you head over to YouTube. This episode is brought to you by Rugged Roots, who brings us the best in beard products. Use code LADDER20 at ruggedroots.com for 20% off your purchase. As always, let's climb the ladder.
Good morning, everybody. We are doing our first Wake Up with CTL episode for episode 100. Had quite the busy week, but always want to make sure that we're providing content for our listeners. And so we're doing a little before work action on Friday morning and kind of feels good, change up the routine a little bit and get up and get after it. I know it's a little bit earlier for Hunter over there in the Pacific time zone, but I'll be there tonight and excited to see him and hang out in Seattle for the weekend. But Hunter, let's get into it. We've got a little bit of Mariners to talk about. Thought we'd do a little bit of a baseball 101 episode for episode 101 and then wrap up with a couple segments and get everybody off to their weekend. What do you say?
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Yeah, talk about waking up. It's early over here in the Pacific Northwest, little Pacific time zone, but it's good to get it in. And yeah, we usually record at the end of the day, but the ends of the day have been getting longer and longer. So here it is, real time.
Yeah, I think with the longer daylight outside, you just naturally want to get more done. And all of a sudden, I mean, we got done with dinner. We did a late dinner out last night, got done probably 9:45 and the sun was still going down. So at that point, it feels like it's 7 o'clock and you still have the rest of your day.
Yeah, exactly. I was using the poor excuse for headlights on the mower last night. Finished up around 9:30, 9:40. Um, and no joke, I've seen candles brighter than those headlights. So I was using everything I could get out of that last ounce of daylight as summer approaches.
Man, that's like the 96 Suburban that we had for a hot minute. You could not see anything in that.
Seriously. Well, I like the sound of getting into some Mariners standings. After a little bit of a downswing, we saw some good success as of late over Memorial Day weekend, which we hope everybody had a good Memorial Day, and took a moment to reflect and remember why we celebrate that day, why we have that Monday off work. Um, but yeah, getting into some Mariners ball. We went 2 for 3, got the series win against the Astros. Should have got the sweep at home, which would have been cool.
Yeah, the bummer part is it's been a little bit since we've recorded, and we hope you guys enjoyed episode 100 with all of our guests. We were able to compile a few of those interviews over time, and we've still got some people lined up that we weren't able to get on before episode 100. So stay tuned in the next few weeks for that. But I thought that the Mariners were going to be in a much better place next time we record an episode. And we gave them a little bit of time, especially delaying this episode a little bit this week, and it just did not pan out. They're sitting at number 4 in the AL West. And not a surprise to me is the Angels are sitting at number 2 in the AL West. They're just over 500, but even the Angels are 6.5 games back from the Astros, and the Astros are actually the ones that surprised me. I thought with the beginning of the season they started out slow, and we talked about this offseason that really we thought that the Astros had used up all of their good luck and their good talent, and so for them to be sitting at 33-18 at this point in this season, I mean, they're among the best of the best. They're sitting right behind the Yankees, actually, which I would not have put those two in the same conversation. But there's a lot more baseball to play, but that does make me nervous being 11 games back from the Astros.
No doubt. Yeah, we definitely have some work to do. And yeah, like I said, we did pick up two statement wins over the Astros. We beat them 6-1 and 6 nothing. We blanked him on that Saturday game. And then Sunday, man, it was a good game. We lost 2-1, and we really should have gone out there. We're seeing the return of Kyle Lewis, which has been huge for the Mariners. Definitely an upswing for the team, like the atmosphere, the dynamic. Um, I saw I saw something called the Kyle Lewis effect because then they sat him on that Sunday, which is the only one that we lost to the Astros. Um, but yeah, he just brings an energy and brings that bat to the team that they really need. Um, man, and then we had Monday off, and we dropped we dropped 2 out of 3 to the last place Orioles, which is rough because that just doesn't do us any favors.
Yeah, the Orioles have had quite the rough go of it. So to see that, that has been kind of rough. And then I am excited. I mean, the past is the past, but looking ahead, we do have the Rangers. So the Rangers are sitting right ahead of us in the AL West. So if we can take care of them, then we get the return of the Astros. We're going to Houston for that. And we'll already be in Arlington for the Rangers. So a little Texas away series before we come back home against the Red Sox. We knew last time we did not fare well against the Red Sox as they're on a little bit of a climb out of the depths. So hopefully in this little road stand, we have not played well on the road this season. We can take care of a couple Texas teams that are both in our division and come home and prepare for both the Red Sox and the Twins and the Angels. We have quite the homestand coming for the next couple weeks in June. So we are playing better at home. We do have some good potential against those upcoming teams. But with that being said, we need Kyle Lewis to keep showing up. We need some of these young guys. Taylor Trammell or Trammell, he's one that we saw his name a little bit last year off and on. He was good. He was fun to watch, but he was sent back down to Tacoma. I don't think he started this season with the Mariners, but his name's been popping up quite a bit. Obviously, Julio Rodriguez still in the mix. But if we can get some of those younger guys to start showing up and performing, hopefully we can start to climb out of this hole.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one thing is we just really need to capitalize and bolster our bullpen. Um, man, we have some good guys, just young, and we just really gotta make it happen with the guys that we have and build on that rotation. Um, speaking of Taylor Trammell, another Mariner who got sent back down after playing the first couple months with the M's is Jared Kelnick, and I actually got to watch him in Tacoma a couple weeks ago. I mean, nothing extraordinary. It was pretty cool to see him in the red R, but hopefully he gets back up there soon. I know there's kind of a big thing with the young guys currently with Kelnick and Rodriguez and trying to make a name and just build that identity with the Mariners. So hopefully it works out because I'm a huge Kelnick fan, and to see his progress, I think he was just in his head a little bit, being up in the bigs, and so go back down to Tacoma, settle down, and then take the drive back up I-5 and put the work in against some of these really big upcoming opponents. And we won't talk too much more about the schedule coming up, but we have a lot of division matchups coming up, and we have to capitalize on them.
Yeah, for sure. I think we saw Kellenic before he was pulled up last year, looking really good in Tacoma. So hopefully he can go back to a more familiar scene, get his confidence back, and get in there before the All-Star break and start making some waves. Because if he doesn't, I'm afraid he might be one of those young guys that we start shopping for a little bit of trade value. So keep your eye on Kellenic because hopefully he can come in and really make a long-term impact on the Mariners.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I thought I was reading this wrong, but it's correct. When we get back home after this road stand, um, we finished that up with 5 games against the Angels. So we have a doubleheader on June 18th, which will be a fun one. And I mean, talk about a really good opponent in the division, and then we follow that up with a road trip against the A's, which hopefully we can get some separation there. But we have to win these division matchups.
Yeah, that's big. 5 in a row against the Angels. That doesn't happen very often. And with them, with us chasing them really this season, that's going to be an important homestand. Well, Hunter, one thing I want to get into right before we do our baseball 101 and get people on with their day is we were going to talk about it a couple weeks ago, but it's even more prevalent now. A little bit of a rant on Root Sports, not being able to access it. I luckily remembered, Wednesday matinee day, and I turned on a website and got to listen to it while I was finishing work for the afternoon last week. And it just felt good to be able to listen to a whole game. And it was sunny outside, and it just felt good. But the gripe is still there that you can't watch baseball on TV. And then I was also to that point talking to a coworker. I had my Kraken hat on. He had his Kraken sweatshirt on, and he's like, "Hey, nice hat." And I'm like, "Man, I was bummed. I didn't really get to watch the Kraken much this season." And he's like, "Yeah, I bought the NHL pass," and he's a big hockey fan. And he's like, "There was no way that I could watch either." He said the Avalanche or the Kraken, which are his two teams. And I thought that was a bummer because not only is it a baseball problem, it's not a hockey problem, it's a Root Sports problem. So hopefully they can restructure something soon, because it's fun to listen on the radio and I love it, but when I can watch every other team on TV, it just hits different.
Yeah, it does, man. It's been a bummer being back in the Pacific Northwest. I feel like I have to go to games to watch it because you can't stream Root Sports. You can get the app on your phone, but you can't even get an app on your computer, or I don't even think iPad, just iPhone, and you can watch the games for free. But I'm not just gonna walk around the house or set up my phone. You can't even do like an Aircast um, to stream from your phone. When you do the Apple AirPlay, you can't even do that. It doesn't have that option for you. So it's like cool. Gonna listen to it on the radio because Root Sports hasn't caught up to 2022, or let alone the last decade, really.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Well, hopefully someone from Root Sports or someone with some influence can hear this eventually, because I do love, I mean, you mentioned the radio baseball where they have to describe everything that's going on, hit up to shortstop, he flips it to two, tried for the double play, and it's fun to listen to. But sometimes I just want to be able to sit, especially radios aren't as common anymore. So I'm sitting on my computer listening. Sometimes I just want to sit on the couch and watch an M's game. So hopefully we can make that happen. Hopefully YouTube TV can make a little bit of an impact there, but I guess we'll have to see about that. But Hunter, in honor of episode 101, before we get everybody on out of here, thought we'd do a little bit of baseball 101. You and I, we played for so many years, at this point, still a majority of our lives. And then we still are playing softball through the city, and we've always just played catch in the meantime. And so figured we'd take it back to the roots a little bit, do a little bit of our own baseball 101, maybe talk a couple favorite players that you've had over the years, whether on the Mariners or just somebody who has really, when you think of a position, you think of them. And then anything else, the game of baseball is just so unique and different than other sports that we've played or watched. So yeah, you got a couple favorite players, maybe bounce back and forth on a couple that you just think like, man, when I think of third base, I think of that guy.
Yeah, well, not third base, but I think we should start with the outfield because I think that is where the Mariners have the most depth and the most opportunity. I don't know if you agree, but just looking at their 60-man roster, so that includes guys that have gone to the minors or on IL, but have been with the Mariners or have the opportunity at some point. man, I I mean, well, Julio, for him to be such a young guy, start the season, love Julio Rodriguez out there. He's been great. Jesse Winker has been, I think, a surprise for a lot of people. He's really shown up at the plate, which of course earns him a spot out there. And then as far as the depth chart, Taylor Trammell brings up that third spot that he's been holding it down in the starting roster for the last couple days. But man, Mitch Haniger is somebody who has got to be close to coming back. He's labeled IL-10 right now. But dude, like he is such a good driving force, like not even just for the outfield, but for the team. So I really want Mitch Haniger out there, and I really want Kyle Lewis back. He's close. He's on the IL-7. So then he'll probably replace Trammell or Winker. But it'd be really good to get Kyle Lewis back out there, and then with a little more development to see Jared Kelnick. I do have one note. Is Justin Upton, who we got in a trade, or we signed him recently as a free agent, actually on a 1-year deal. I was kind of surprised. I'm like, man, I don't know what he brings to the team that we don't already have in 10 other outfielders, but they're developing him in the minors, and Scott Service says he sees something there. But it is nice, not in typical Mariners fashion, that they didn't just throw him into the game and be like, oh, actually, he's not ready. Now he can go to the minors. But those are kind of my thoughts on the outfield.
Yeah, I gotta like that. One twist I'll put on it is talk about a few Mariner greats in the outfield, just because I think that we have so many now, and I think the Mariners have always been strong in the outfield. But man, when you think of some greats of our childhood and of the Mariners past, Ken Griffey Jr., number one that comes to mind. Lucky that we got to see him in a Mariners uniform for a majority of his career. And then another one that's just phenomenal would be Ichiro. It's like, I mean, every kid remembers hearing Ichiro chanted when your parents are watching the Mariners game. And so I think that just the longevity of outfielders through our youth and now into our adult years has been cool to see. I think the importance of that and the difference that their fielding and their bats can have at the plate as well, just in that lineup. What about either current or past, maybe a first or third base that you got?
Yeah, I mean, easy one, got to go for Kyle Seager. That's who I picture as a third baseman, especially playing our, whole careers, or our whole lives, and watching Kyle Seager with the Mariners for the entirety of his career, just a staple at that hot corner. And man, I feel like first is such a lucrative position. I
Yeah,
would
that's what
like
I
to see
was.
Evan White back there, but
Yeah.
I don't have one that really digs in at that corner for me.
Yeah, I agree with first base. We seem to cycle people out every 2 or 3 years. But I was watching an older clip. It was of Felix's perfect game, and Justin Smoke was sitting at first. And that was a good little reminiscing of, like, man, he was good. We had him for a few years. His bat was kind of bad towards the end, and then he went on to Toronto and made some waves there. But one other player I was going to bring up who wasn't with the Mariners for very long, Nelson Cruz, just one of the funnest players to watch. His bat, and obviously he was primarily a DH for the Mariners in his short time there, but he was just one that every time he got up, you knew that something big could happen. And I feel like when you have that effect as a baseball player, that's just awesome, especially for the Mariners. So that was one that just stuck with me, through the DH position at least. And another kind of utility guy, and one of our last All Stars was Daniel Vogelbach. He had a great season, and then he totally fizzled out for the Mariners the next year. But it looks like he's doing some good things in the DH position for the Pirates this season. So he's fun to watch. His swing always makes me laugh, but he just crushes balls. He's a short, stocky guy, and he actually came through the Boise Hawks organization, which was kind of funny, but had to give him a shout out as well.
Yeah, and I'll give you one for first base that I remember from back in the day. Couple of years, I mean, not like a Mariners legend or anything, but we both had lunch boxes that we got on one of those Sunday giveaway days for kids under 12 or something. Richie Sexton at first base. I mean, talk about a
Yeah.
name. And yeah, I guess that's who I think of from our childhood.
Yeah, I think in that era, Brett Boone was still there, Edgar was still there, obviously Ichiro. Those were some fun teams to watch for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, people who don't know, we were born in 1996, so of course we got the tail end, as young baseball fans, from that 95 wave. I do remember watching Ichiro in his rookie season, so we were 5 years old, and I feel like that's, the time that sports start coming to you and you start to remember those things. And remember hearing on the radio, like, and or watching on the TV too, but like, what's so big deal about 116 wins? Come to find out, we made history.
Yeah. And then since then, we've continued to make history by not making the playoffs since the year after that. So both sides of history, I guess. You can't ask for it all at once. Well, one more thing we can talk about there before we wrap it up. Favorite thing about baseball, whether it's about the game itself or about, players or position or something. I thought of this when we were playing softball the other day, and I was thinking, like, man, it's such a unique sport. Like, you're out there playing softball, and most of these guys probably played on a high school baseball team at some point, but a bunch of washed up people out there in the field. You have guys who are 70 that can still play in like an old man league. And so I was like, man, there's just something about baseball that's different. But what would you say is one of your favorite things about either when you were playing or now getting to watch baseball that you're like, man, it's just so cool?
Yeah, man. I mean, one of my favorite things is just how I mean, you kind of talked about it, but how different each position is, and being out in the field, same thing, playing softball makes me think about it. Um just how much different of a skill set each player can bring to the table. Like, I'm playing in the outfield. I always played in the outfield. But just how you have to get back on the ball. You have to figure out the timing. You have to run through it to make the throw, and how it all connects. It's a whole string of like a linear process, or how shortstop has such a different special skill set than an outfielder does, and how they utilize it, how they communicate with second base, get the throw over to first base, like field the ball cleanly. And, there's just so much different skill other than a quick throw or something that goes into that. So that's my favorite thing. You can have 9 guys out there with 9 completely different skill sets that makes one better part of a team.
Yeah, I think that's something I've always appreciated too, because you could have a guy in right field who is super fast and can track down a ball on the line, but then and he could be 6'5" and 250 pounds, but then you could have a little, Altuve type of guy at shortstop, and he could be 5'6" and barely 175 pounds, and they're both contributing to the same exact thing. That right fielder could throw the ball to shortstop and have the same impact on the game or on a single play. But it just takes all 9 positions to do it. And one thing I wanted to spotlight was the catcher, because the pitchers like the quarterback, they get probably the most glory. And obviously they're driving and controlling the game for the part that they're out there, especially as a starter. But getting to play catcher a lot growing up, and then I didn't as much once I got into kind of the high school years playing more first and outfield, but the catcher is so cool because you're the only person on the defense that gets to see the whole game from a different perspective. Everybody else is looking in at you and you're looking out at the rest of the field. And that's something that I always thought was cool as the catcher, because I remember a coach telling me one time, like, yeah, the pitcher's controlling the game, but you're kind of the command center. You're the only one who can see what's going on. You have to call the shots. You have to, know where the ball is going. You always see college and professional catchers doing a bunch of different hand signals, and it's because they're the only ones with that perspective. The pitcher can't see that. They don't know what's going on behind them, and so it's the catcher's job to communicate that. And I've always thought that that was cool. And then also just, they're kind of like a goalie in hockey. They're all suited up and they just have such a different impact on the game, but without them, obviously the game doesn't even happen. So just cool that they're, at home plate, protecting the plate, and they don't get a lot of action as far as getting a throw to the plate and trying to get someone out, but they're in every single pitch, which I think is a really cool part. So definitely worth giving a little bit of spotlight to the catchers.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and we were both catchers when we were, in little leagues for most of the way until the base paths changed, and then I feel like we kind of established our positions. But it is a cool position looking out on the rest of the field. You kind of feel like you're, you know, controlling the game just like Blue is behind the plate. But yeah, that's always really cool. Well, what do you say? Should we get into some segments?
Yeah, let's wrap it up with a little weekend preview brought to you by the Great PNW. Head over to thegreatpnw.com for all your Northwest apparel, hats, stickers, t-shirts, whatever you want, and enter code CLIMB20 for 20% off. Hunter, I figured for deep cuts, we don't necessarily have to get into many songs, but the reason that we'll be in Seattle this weekend is exciting. Get to see the big Luke Combs concert stadium tour. One of 3 stops in the whole country, which I thought was really cool when we saw the concert announcement. So he already played the Denver show a couple weeks ago. Looked like that was just one of the most incredible nights. He's also bringing Cody Johnson, Zach Bryan, and Morgan Wade with him. And so I think it'll just be a night to remember, and especially playing in the Seahawks Stadium at Lumen Field. That'll just be quite the night, I think. So really excited to make it to there. He just announced that his album's coming out on June 24th. So we're finally in the month that's happening. He's teased a couple songs. He released Tomorrow Me, and Cody Johnson obviously coming off of his double album at the beginning of the year. Zach Bryan just dropped 34 songs in what's basically a triple album at this point. So we're gonna have a lot of music to listen to tomorrow, which I cannot wait for.
Yeah, I'm super stoked. It's gonna be fun to host you guys and have you guys at the house. But yeah, that is gonna be a concert for the books. Really excited to see Luke Combs. Cody Johnson is gonna crush it. He is what country music needs. And Zach Bryan with his double album, or his just 34 song album, American Heartbreak. He leaves it all out on the table, and I am so excited for that.
Yeah, Morgan Wade, someone that most people probably haven't heard of, and I only recognize a couple of her songs, but really good, really cool sound, pretty unique to her. And I think that the 4 of them are definitely going to bring it in Seattle on Saturday. Well, Hunter, excited for that. Excited to visit the new home. Congrats to you and Hannah, officially homeowners. Big shout out on episode 101 for that, and excited to see it. But before we get out of here, little beer league softball update, and then we will get on with our work day.
Yeah, beer league softball. We are at the end of our regular season for spring and first round of the playoffs. Everybody gets to play in the playoffs and win and move on, and lose and go home. What about you?
Yeah, we had a good big feel good win On Wednesday, we won 22-5. One of our guys had an almost home run, and then the next guy up had a definite home run, which was cool to see. But the bats were going and the defense was good. We had a couple innings straight of 3 up, 3 down. So can't complain when everything's clicking. We were definitely firing on all cylinders. And it was exciting to be part of. So have a couple games left in the season, but excited for what's to come before we get into summer league.
Definitely. Yeah, that'll be fun. It sounds like you guys have found some good success bringing the same group of guys back for a couple seasons now. And yeah, always feels good to get a home run by any of your players. That definitely brings the energy.
Definitely does. Well, episode 101 in the books. Hopefully we can get people on with their weekend and that you enjoy episode 101. We'll be back next week with episode 102. And Hunter, I'll see you tonight. Looking forward to a weekend in Seattle.
Yeah, gonna come pick you up. I'll be there right when you land, and excited for the weekend ahead. Like Duncan said, you guys will hear some good deep cuts from us after this concert. I think my prediction for the concert, I think we're gonna see a lot of Luke Combs songs off of his new album, and those are just gonna crush it. So really excited for this show where the Seahawks play, and yeah, gonna be a lot of fun.
All right. As always,
Let's climb the
on the
ladder.
ladder.